All right, hello, friends. It is Pluggo, and I am back with Love Wrestling doing some interviews, and I got a good one today. I'm psyched. He's back. Big Ben Ortmanns, the biggest hog-carrying man I know. He's back in a wrestling ring, and I dropped him a line and said, we got to talk. I got to know what's been up, what's happening. My buddy Ben, how are you, dude?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling as good as I probably can feel right now. It's been a really, really weird, rocky 9 months for me, I guess you could say. And the last couple of months have been slowly starting to get better and better and better and better. And obviously, as like my training had progressed, and I've been able to get some more matches under my belt, and I had a couple matches down at Crossbody, and then was able to finally get back to IWS this past weekend, where, that's essentially like from the moment that I got hurt it was just like, that's where I got to get back to, you know what I mean? Like, so this past weekend was like literally meant the world to me. And just cause I worked so hard to get there, not knowing that honestly not knowing if I'd ever get back there just because of the injury. So I feel as good as like a human being can possibly feel right now without being.
Hell yeah! So let's start there. You're talking about IWS scared for life, scarred for life. Scared. I'm sorry. I'm all fired up today. Scarred for life. But let's circle back. So you just mentioned the injury, 9 months. Your career was on a bit of an uptick there. You had just made, an appearance on SmackDown. You didn't tap out to Ronda famously, and then the injury hits you. So like, what does that do to your mental, like your career? So now you have to kind of reboot over this, now that you're back and kind of start, I don't want to say from the bottom. I feel like that's a disservice to you, but you got to work your way back up. So in that 9 months, like what's going through your mind? Like, how do you stay sharp and focused on what happened Saturday?
Well, the staying sharp and focused was a very difficult thing to do for about 7 of those months because that concussion was pretty bad. But it was a really it's not disrespectful what you just said, having to like saying that I kind of have to start from the bottom again, because the reality is I am. I mean, I'm starting right back from the bottom again. If I can't just go back to where I was, like I can't just be in that spot. Those spots were, I had to work a very long time and I had to work very hard. And, it's a lot of work to get to where I was and where I was kind of on my way to, I suppose. So, you don't just walk right back into that. You have to re-earn it. That's part of the deal. And I don't mind that. I wish I didn't have to. I wish we didn't have to go through that process. But at the same time, it doesn't bother me. I wish that I could have just continued my path and have been healthy this whole time. But it is what it is. And it happened. So if anything, I feel very lucky that I have the ability to start from the bottom again. I'm a big believer in mindset, and I could be disappointed and I could be depressed that that's where I'm kind of back in the like, man, I really got to try to like beg for bookings again, because everybody, like all those spots that I was doing on the regular have been filled. But I'm also, a practice what I preach guy, because these are the same lessons that I teach my students. These are the same things that I tell everybody, and I'm not above anybody. Nobody's above anybody. It's wrestling. You know what I mean? Like yes, there's a bit of a pecking order and to a degree, but we're all just fucking human beings at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I don't place myself over anybody. So no, I don't mind. I don't mind putting my nose to the ground and working my ass off. And if anything, pay attention to me, because I'm going to be working my ass off, and I'm going to be that dude that if I'm on the same show as you, you better put your fucking work boots on, because I'm not trying to have the best match of the night. I'm trying to have the best matches that I can possibly have. Like I'm literally trying to do myself every fucking match right now. So be ready to go, man. Whether you're on the show with me or whether you're wrestling me, like I'm not there to just be there. I'm there to earn my spot back.
So you mentioned in so 7 of those 9 months was a little rough for you. And you had some down, but how did you stay positive throughout that? How did you what were some things that maybe for some wrestlers that might watch this, that are going to go through the same thing that you went through, Ben? Like, how did you stay positive through it to get through to this point? Like I said, to show up Saturday night at IWS, which was, you said, the ultimate goal to get back there. So,
well, for one, having a very supportive girlfriend certainly helps. Because she was there for me. Like, she was there for me. Like, she took good care of me. Like, that stuff helped, because who knows what would have happened had I had to try to deal with that on my own. I could have just gotten into my own head, and I couldn't have, maybe I didn't have somebody to, to talk to me, or maybe I wouldn't have had somebody to make me food. You know what I mean? Maybe who knows? I don't want to think about what could have happened, and one thing I'll say, other than my girlfriend, is just obviously having supportive friends. The one guy who, I've said this on social media, but for anybody who doesn't follow me on social media, there was one person who checked in on me every single day when I got hurt. And it didn't matter whether it was just a meme, or just a how you doing, just he'd send me a link for whatever, in Frankie the Mobster or Frankie FTM, however you know him. He's one of the best human beings that I've ever had the pleasure of being friends with and having in my life. And having people like that in your life certainly helps. And to be perfectly honest with you, when you have friends like Speedball Mike Bailey, who again are keeping up with you and just encouraging you to that things are going to get better, and that when things do get better, that I can get through this, and that I can persevere. So having supportive friends is certainly helpful, but at the same time too, and it's very hard to say, because when you have a brain injury, being in control of your thoughts is a lot harder than when maybe you're not as injured. However, you got to just try to stay as positive as possible, because Lord knows that I wasn't. Lord knows that there was a lot of days where I was very nervous, and there were days where I didn't think that I would ever get to do this again. So it's a very big combination of things, and just believing that one day, hopefully, everything will get better too, because you never know. Brain injuries are really weird, Yeah. But at the moment, I'm blessed to say that I think I feel as good as I possibly can right now. Because again, 2 or 3 months ago, I was still kind of iffy, but then things just kind of switched for me, and then I just started to feel a little bit better. I still feel a little, gradually here and there, but I think that that's just going to be there for the rest of my life. Just a lot of wear and tear. But at the same time too, if I keep protecting myself the way that I have been, I think I'm just going to continue to get healthier and healthier, because I'm training my ass off, and that certainly helps as well as being healthy.
Oh, hell yeah. Brain injuries are no joke, and a lot of wrestlers go through them. So I definitely will be giving some insight into that in case anybody's watching that, just take your time. I know it's a hard process, and that's easier said than done. But speaking of which, you mentioned you came back about a month or so ago. Big news. Big Ben is back. You did it. You got your debut back at Crossbody. And I have to imagine during that 9 months you were out, you put a lot of focus into Crossbody. How did Crossbody come to be? And I mean, that thing is really picking up some steam. You got a killer commentary team with Veda and Mike, the wrestlers. I really enjoy the product. So did you just dive into that as hey, at least I'm still in wrestling and I'm not completely isolated from it?
Well, that's exactly how Uproar started. So Crossbody Pro Wrestling's actually been around for, we started, it'll be 7 years this coming October 1st, was when we had our very first show. It has started out very small, and it has grown tremendously. We've had, when you look back at who we've even had on our shows, just looking back from whatever, it's absurd. We've had a lot of people that have gone on to do some pretty solid, and big things. One of our champions, who was a 2-time champion and held the title for, I believe, a year at one point in time, was Josh Alexander. One of the biggest matches that we've
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. One of the biggest matches that we've ever had and one of the most memorable matches that we've ever had. And it's certainly one of the highest viewed matches that we have on our YouTube page, is a match between my friend Psycho Mike and this young upstart named Danhausen. We've had Kaito Kiyomiya wrestle on our show a couple of times. RJ City, like if you go back through our Rolodex of people, it's wild. And there's so many people that I have not listed, but going back to your original question, I'm going to just kind of start with Uproar. So Uproar started because I got back into running shows again after the pandemic. And if I'm being completely honest with you, focusing on my career, focusing on my work, and focusing on the gym and like trying to teach, and then the amount of things that I had on my plate, I just was not able to give my full self to promoting the shows, and it was starting to come across in the attendance. And I blame myself 100% for that. So it got to the point where I was losing too much money, and I decided that I needed to take a break from promoting shows. Once I got hurt, I needed something to kind of keep me like sane and kind of keep me going, because I could still teach, but not to the extent that I wanted to, because I couldn't get in the ring physically, right? Yeah. So I was trying to think of other ways that I could teach and still how I could develop talent and stuff. And then the idea of starting to run shows again came to my was an idea that I had. And then me being me was just like, well, I can't just go back and do what I did before because it didn't work. You can't just go back and do the same thing, because then if nobody cared before, why would they now? How do you make it different so then that way people might be interested? And then the one day I was just scrolling through my the Crossbody YouTube metrics. I'd never done that before. I'm not a social media savvy person. I wish I was, and I wish that I could try to be, but I'm just not. Maybe I'm old now, and I'm just that guy. But I do try. But the one day I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just look through these things and just kind of see what I can find. And the one interesting thing to me was I went to look at the overall views of the page, because there's a lot of views on the page, but I wanted to see where they were coming from. And Canada was ranked number 4 on the list in countries where this show was being viewed.
Yeah.
Or where everything was being viewed. The top country, I believe, if I remember correctly, was, I think, England, the United States, India, Canada, Japan, I think was the top 5 countries where the videos were all viewed. So then I realized I don't need to just promote to the locally if people from around the world are actually watching this stuff. So what can I do to interest them? And how can I make how can our guys benefit from this? So then the idea came, nobody, and I mean nobody on an independent level is doing a weekly television product or a weekly product at all.
Yeah.
So definitely. Then I was like, well, maybe I could be that stupid asshole that tries. I mean, yeah. I'm not trying to be this guy and trying to do this, but the reality is a lot of ideas that I've come up with, a lot of people have copied and mimicked. And
imitation's the best form of flattery, Ben.
It doesn't make me mad. If anything, it does make me, I'm flattered. The amount of showcase series match or shows that I see across just this province and across Canada makes me proud, because it's a concept that me and another guy came up with that worked. And then it was helping get young people, young talent reps and stuff like that. So then that's when I realized maybe I can kind of take the concept of the showcase series show, spruce it up a little bit with Canadian talent, and make this a weekly Canadian independent wrestling show that we could really focus on. So then the idea started with well, what else can I do? And then I had the idea of well, maybe I could do things that people would just think are the dumbest fucking moves that you could possibly, sorry, I cussed. I don't think I'm allowed to cuss on there. Right. But like the dumbest move that you could possibly do, like what would people be like, you're stupid for doing this? I'm like, I'm going to promote everybody else's show on my show. I'm going to take like shows from across the country and I'm going to have a section where I tell everybody where to go watch local wrestling. Because if I'm going to preach support local wrestling, then I want to practice what I preach. You know, you're going to notice that this is a theme with me. I don't like to tell people to do things that I wouldn't do myself.
That's how I got the name Pluggo. That's how it all started for me. I was like, I may never get to this level where I'm sitting with awesome people doing interviews, so I'm going to at least promote all the people that are, and good things happen to those guys. You know, it's all about support and growth, man, and that's what I love about you.
And I appreciate that. Thank you very much, first of all. But my idea is, and this is, call me crazy, I just really want to help get eyeballs on Canadian wrestling. I hear way too many people talk about it. Everybody wants to talk the talk, but nobody ever wants to walk the walk. So I decided, let's walk.
And that's an excellent point that you bring up. I had Shane Hawk on a couple weeks ago. You were in the chat, and he had talked about that very thing, how incredibly difficult it is for Canadian wrestlers to get exposure, to get seen. You in the comments mentioned that you got flagged coming into the States for knee pads, how hard it is to cross over. So it feels like you got the right mindset of like, let's all work together up here above this 49th parallel and like kill it. And then that way we can all work together and get eyes on everything. So it benefits everybody, because it is incredibly hard to do the thing across the state line, or across the border, I should say.
I'm a firm believer that I think that our biggest obstacle here in Canada is ourselves. I think that we're all so damn cutthroat with one another that it's disgusting. I think that we get in our own way, and that's the sad thing. So I'm trying to not do that, and I understand that there's people. There's people out there that want to criticize how I do things, and they want to criticize the business end of how I do things. But the reality is if you knew about wrestling at all, and you were in this business for money and to try to like get rich off this stuff, you're just leave, because you're not going to until you get good at this. The only way you get good at this is with reps. The only way that you're going to get eyeballs is if people see you. So that's what we're trying to give people. We're trying to give people, or me, I'm trying to give people reps. I'm trying to give people a platform where they can be seen on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, where they can tell stories and actually be creative and let their art speak for itself. Because as an independent wrestler, trying to find a company that will be like, hey, here's an angle, like here's a way to show that you're ready to do stuff on television, or that you can actually contribute in a manner to like anybody that's looking for something like that. You know what I mean? Because if all you have is just an independent matches on TV to show, or on YouTube rather, to show people, then that it's only very one dimensional. I'm trying to provide people this 3-4 dimensional platform where you can show everything that you have to offer to people. Because people do watch. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman named Steve Swift out of England who just so happened, and I'm going to assume that it was from our amazing commentary team. Thank you, Veda Scott and Speedball Mike, by the way, because they have an excellent reach. And with them promoting our show, thankfully, new people do actually come in to watch the show. And one of them just happens to be this guy from England who goes out of his way that after every single episode that we have done for this entire season, he does like a recap. And I've learned so much from listening to like that specific like podcast recap thing that he does, just because he would talk about not knowing who certain competitors were. And then it'd be like, oh, I forget that like we know who they are, but not every.
Right.
Okay. So it was a great learning experience. I'm one of those people that loves feedback. And like, when I say that, I think people get nervous about that because they don't want to like say the wrong thing to me and like get me mad and then blah, 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 blah. No, I want to hear, like, I love feedback. So like when this guy had his podcast about all this stuff, it made me super stoked because I love learning. I know, I understand that I know quite a bit, but I know that I don't know everything. And that excites me because I want to keep learning.
Oh, absolutely. That's the name of the game. Reps get you better. Learning this gets you better. All that. It's all good stuff. So that brings me, we talked about Uproar. We made it back. And we touched on it earlier, and I kind of glossed over it because I wanted to build the excitement. That's what they do in the business, right? Now let's dive into it. It's IWS. It's Scarred for Life. It's Saturday. You said it on Twitter earlier today. 9 months. You're whole again. What's going through your mind when you come out that curtain? Because I saw it. I saw you trying to keep it composed, trying to keep that badass look, but that was tough, I bet.
It was because I didn't know how people were going to react to me. So because I was told I'm usually very used to knowing exactly how they're going to react to me. I'm very used to just as soon as I walk out, I see everybody in the usually it's a whole lot of these. It's awesome. But after I sent my promo in and people started to see it, I was told that I might not get that reaction that I'm used to, and if it happens, to kind of just go with it. So I was like, oh, this feels weird, but okay. Right? At the same time too, like it didn't, because I mean, you have to understand, like what I'm about to say is probably going to like offend a lot of wrestlers just because they're going to be like, no, I do. But y'all don't love this like I love this, man. Like I love this business on a level that I cannot fucking comprehend. Like I love this so much. I want this so bad. IWS is like so important to me, and I don't think that I would be what I am today without them. I get emotional talking about this just because that's literally how much IWS means to me. Andrew and Manny and I have to mention Speedball because like he's the one that, like, if it wasn't for Speedball, I would probably have never got linked up with IWS. But you know, and like that entire team, like Erica, she's like I don't know exactly what her title is. I'm just kind of blanking on it, but like she's like an assistant producer there, I guess. But she's like the fucking babysitter of the crew, you know what I mean? And like just that entire crew works so hard to put on like this incredible show that like it's hilarious that more people don't look at it in like the way that they should, because we literally just wrestled in Olympia, which is like a 15,000 seat theater that you're not going to find a better venue for wrestling. You're not going to find a better venue at all in this country. Like I dare you to name one that's not going to be like, you know, like a stadium or like an actual like arena or something like that. Like it's magical, man. And like this company has been around for 25 years. Like the names that have come out of IWS are just like it's a legacy, and it makes you so proud. Like the one thing that really threw me off when Andrew was on here is he actually let you guys in on like the backstage pep talk that they give us, because my God, Pago, it's verbal crack for me. Like I've never done crack before in my life, but if I could imagine what crack felt like, that, oh boy, man, like those meetings, like the funny, actually, I yelled it too early in the meeting this weekend. Actually, I was that guy. But I was so fired up, dude. Like the moment that I even got to Montreal, I was just like, as soon as I got to the venue, people were just like, how are you feeling? I was just like, I just want my music to play. I'm ready. I'm ready. Like if it was up to me, I would have been wrestling. I would have wrestled 25 minutes and I would have just gone so hard. I just wanted to go, man. I just wanted to show, because I knew what the opportunity was. Like I knew that was my first real opportunity to like show the wrestling world the wrestling side of me, because every time that I've been on a major stage so far, it's been, nothing, no wrestling stuff. Like it's never like the only, like I've been beaten up by Ronda Rousey. I've been like, I've had to pull apart Ronda Rousey. I've had to beat Kofi Kingston's doctor. I had to dance in a freaking conga line. Like I've never done anything that was like actual like wrestling. I've produced live pay-per-views. I've timed out live pay-per-views. I've timed out television shows for Impact. I've literally damn near done every job on a major television program except wrestle. So the fact that the opportunity was there for me to wrestle on a live pay-per-view for IWS, I was ready to go, man. So like when I realized that we didn't have a lot of time, I was just like, well, it's time to just throw everything at the wall that I can. And like I hope that people watching liked what they saw, and I hope that I was able to make a couple of new fans and get a couple of new followers. Actually, I did get a private DM from a wrestler that I actually really respect, who I think saw it and just told me that he really wanted to wrestle me, which I thought was pretty sweet. But I'm ready to go, man. Like I just genuinely feel like I'm at a level right now where I can go with the best of the best right now. And that's the only opportunity that I can ask, is just for a chance to do it. And to be honest with you, whether it's getting in there with the younger guys, I know that I can contribute. If I can get in there with like, the guys who have been traveling for a little while, I can contribute. Your name guys, your TV guys, I can go. Like I feel good right now. I feel great. And I want the opportunity to show everybody that I can go.
And I'm just gonna say, fucking A. That's awesome. Hell yeah. I was gonna say, when you were talking about Andrew Shane being on, Shane Hawk, for those that are Superstar Shane Hawk, also known as Andrew, when he was on and he gave that spat behind the scenes speech, I was ready to run through a brick wall. That guy and you, and like I was ready to go. I know you said off air you wanted my opinions of Saturday. I loved it. I had a great time. It was a fun show. Everybody, you could tell, like he said, there is no main event, the IWS. You are the main event when you're out there. And I thought you just knew, based on that interview, talking to you throughout the week, like you guys just know that it's a group effort. Everybody's out there to just kill it. And it was super fun. And I know Zach and Lawrence, that were, they're part of Love Wrestling. They were there. They said it was a great time. So like, go check out IWS. How cool is that they're on Fight? It's a big deal now. That is dope, dude. I love you. I love IWS. I'll run through a brick wall for all of them.
I want to say one more thing about IWS, and I don't know if this is like the right or wrong thing to say because they're taboo or whatever, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I've never, and I mean never, experienced a more supportive yet competitive locker room in my entire life. It is literally, everybody wants to see each other do better, so then that way we've got better people to work with. But at the same time, it's you better step the hell up, because like we are too, you know what I mean? So it's the healthiest, most healthiest competitive like environment I've ever been a part of. Like it literally fires me up just thinking about it. When I say that I'm an IWS soldier until I'm in the dirt, like I mean that, man. Like I would run through a fucking wall for that company.
Oh, hell yeah. No, and I can believe it. And talking, like I said, talking to you, man, talking to Shane, I'm an IWS soldier. Anytime there's a show, I want to promote it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm just going to be there watching it, because like, that's what I love about wrestling, right? I love that people, when they're passionate about something and they make me believe, and then that makes, you know what I mean? It's a domino effect. I'm just some guy from Indiana, right? And here I am watching this major event in Montreal. Like, that's what I love, and finding uproar and finding you. So like, that just gets me fired up, gets me going, man. And I love it. And I could talk to you about it all day, but we have other things I want to talk about. You said you've done every job in wrestling, in the wrestling business outside of wrestle for a major promotion. So I wouldn't be doing my job as a journalistic integrity guy that I am without asking about the dark side of the ring stuff. You're the wrestling coordinator. You've done some acting. That's like a super popular thing when it comes out. And to be completely honest, up until I got to know you, I didn't realize that some of those vignettes of the wrestling was you. Like,
yeah.
How cool is that? Like, how does that come to be? That's a really big deal.
That one was crazy because I want to say it was towards the end of season 1 because they film their episode in blocks, right? So like they film a couple episodes and then that's like your first block, and then they'll film like another set and then like another set, right? Just so that way it's not like I don't know. I guess that's just like the easiest way for them to do it, right? So I believe they were in like their final block of filming season 1. And I think they just randomly messaged a bunch of people who they realized had like a wrestling promotion or maybe like a wrestling school, and were just asking me casting opinions. Like they were just like, hey, who do you think would be, who would look good to play this person and this person and this person? So, I gave my thoughts and feedback on the names that they had provided for me, and I guess they liked them. And so they messaged me again for some more names. And then I believe that was the beginning of season 2. I think I got this right, but I believe it was the beginning of season 2. They messaged me back and they were just like, hey, like, who do you think would be this, and this person? One of the people that was on the people of suggestions was Nick Gage. And I couldn't think of anybody that looked like him. And then I was like trying to figure it out, and I was brushing my teeth and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like,
you're like MDK all effing day.
But I don't want to be that guy. I'm like, but right. I'm like, but I think I could pull that off. And then, so then I emailed him and I was just like, hey, I don't like doing this, but I'm the only, I think me. And then he's like, actually, we were kind of thinking about that too. Could you send us like some pictures, blah, 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 blah. And then it was just kind of one of those like going back and forth. And then next thing I know, they offered me the role for it. And I hadn't really seen Dark Side up at this point. Okay. So I didn't really know exactly what it was yet. I just knew it was a popular show. So in my opinion, I was just like, this is like my first acting gig. So I really wanted to do like research. So there was a gentleman who I was friends with that I knew was very close friends with Nick. So I called him the one day and we spoke for 2 hours, and he let me pick his brain about everything about Nick. And like, I asked a lot of questions and he gave me a lot of things that if you'll notice about me, like, and actually in my Dark Side career, I guess for lack of better terms, but like anything that I'm involved with, I go to the absolute nth degree to learn everything that I possibly can about the situation, the person, the timing, the whole thing. Because even like, just to give you an example, the Chris Candido episode that aired this season, I was in charge of doing the wrestling coordination for that. And they told me about this one specific like wrestling spot. They were just like, we want to do like something from this era. And then as we were talking about it, I was just like, well, can I find an actual like match that was like from that era? And then we'll like recreate the match. So then that way, anybody who actually is like friends or family of Chris, if they were to be like, holy, that's the match that was Skip versus like Brian Christopher on Raw when he was Chris Candido. Holy crap. And then if they go back and watch the actual match, that was the opening spot. That's my mentality, is I want people to, if you know what you're looking for, to like have a treat and be like, holy crap, like whoever was in charge of putting that together, like put some real thought into all of these things. So that was the approach that I took with the Nick Gage stuff. So then when I realized that it was only like recreation and they kind of shadow film you and stuff like that, it kind of made the gig a lot looser and easier. But I had so much fun doing it because I kind of had like this voice that I had created for Nick Gage, and they let me just like every time that the camera rolled, I would just like, for some reason, just to feel comfortable, I would just like completely freestyle and just let like ad lib as this Nick Gage voice, which as I was doing it more, it turned out that it was really, I was just doing Joey Diaz's voice, I'm pretty sure. But I was like making the crew laugh every single time. So like, then it became like a challenge of mine. Like, can keep the crew laughing. And the funny thing is one of the crew members was a JT producer's sister.
Oh,
yeah. She was like she was like one of the prop like designers on set, which is hilarious. But
small world, man.
Very small world. And so the thing went really well. And the episode is like one of their most popular episodes that they've ever done, right? Yeah. And so after they saw me do that, then they just were like, oh, we need to use the dude for everything. And the funny thing is I was looking on their like IMDb or something like that, and I think that I'm the 5th most used person on that show.
There you go. I was going to ask because classic Pluggo. I didn't do all my research, so I didn't check the IMDb. But that's dope. Real quick, without Nick Gage episode aside, what's your favorite Dark Side of the Ring? Favorite's tough because he sometimes can get real dark. But what's your most intriguing or favorite Dark Side episode?
So there's a couple. Like, I mean, the Nick Gage one is going to be like my baby, just because that was like my first one, and that's the story that helped Nick Gage get national like exposure.
Yeah,
Nick Gage is like literally has like I don't want to say this for sure, but like I think that episode is the reason why he's certainly as popular as he is now, and I think that it had a lot to do with getting eyes on GCW as well. So to just kind of have a small part of that is very cool. There's episodes that I've been a part of that I don't know if I'm like happy to admit or not, just because like they've caused so much grief for people. But like I was a part of the plane ride from hell episode. That one was weird. Because of all the feedback that came from that one. Mm-hmm. What else was I involved in that was weird? I can't remember. But I think one of the episodes that I'm probably the most proudest of is probably the Chris Candido one as well, just because I am a big Chris Candido fan. And another reason why is because I knew that Dark Side usually is about the dark side of like the wrestling stuff, but Candido really didn't have a dark side. Candido's dark side was his girlfriend. Like that was the dark side. And like, so when I realized, I'm like, oh, Candido was always the baby face and she was always the heel, and there's really no other way to tell that story. Then I was just like, this is going to be awesome, actually, just because like I feel really bad for Tammy, obviously, but that's a whole other story. But right. One thing why that was so important to me is just because like, so this is a weird sentence to say, but like the Blue Meanie is like a good friend of mine. And like, I love that man to death. And like him and I, like literally, I'm almost positive that from like the last like 6 months to a year, like we have almost messaged each other every day, just memes and just to make each other laugh throughout the course of the day. Like that's kind of where our relationship's at, is like we just try to make each other giggle like every day. And I know how much Chris meant to him, and like I know how much Chris meant to people. So to make sure that story was told and as authentically like as possible, and have like the ability to like make sure that the wrestling looked good and was authentic and all that stuff, that meant a lot to me. So but to be perfectly honest with you, like everything that I've done on there is pretty cool, man. Like the fact that I earned my way from being just a guy who they would ask for casting advice to becoming an actor, to becoming somebody that was like a part of helping with casting, to then becoming the person who actually was like the stunt coordinator for the show, essentially. It's a pretty cool like growth, and something that I'm very proud of, and I hope that I can do more. I always want more.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna have a little fun now. We'll get all the serious stuff out of the way. So I'm gonna pull, since you went behind the IWS curtain, I'll go behind the Love Wrestling curtain.
Let's do it. Who
so this morning, I was like, hey, guys, I'm talking to Big Ben Ortmanns. Anybody got questions?
Okay.
So, first of all, I was told specifically not to let you go without telling me about the time you met Pat McAfee. So, I love Patty Mac. I'm from Indiana. He's a famous Colt. You met him at SmackDown. How was that?
Okay, so the first time I met him, I've been lucky enough to have two really couple of cool interactions with Pat. The first was in Chicago at Raw, and I was just standing there because there was nothing for me to do on the show, and then I'm just like standing there watching the little monitor that's like set up in the back, and then all of a sudden I just looked to my left, and I swear I saw Foxy from the Pat McAfee show, and I was just like, huh? And then as I did that, all of a sudden I just see the blonde hair, the black tank top, the gold chain, that fucking smile, and I was just like,
right?
I literally did that. Okay, so you have to understand, like, I've done a lot of WWE stuff. I don't remember ever marking out for any person. But I saw Pat McAfee and was like, oh my God. And then as he was like walking towards me, I literally was just like, and he looks at me, and I was just like, yo. And he's just like, hey, what's up, dude? And I'm just like, man,
you know who you are.
I was just like, man, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I have watched so many hours of you. Like, you're the fucking man, dude. And he's just like, oh, thanks, man. And then he's like just kind of stopped and chatted with me for a second. And then it was the same day that Matt Ryan had gotten signed by Indianapolis. And so we were just kind of going back and forth. And I knew that I would probably, I didn't know if I was going to get in trouble or not, but I straight up was just like, man, can you please take a picture with me? Like, you're awesome. Oh, so he's super cool. Took a picture with me. I'm like I'm on my way home. I'm flying home. And then I was tweeting it. And then all of a sudden, he retweeted it and was just like, oh, good to meet you, dude. And I was just like, fuck, that's wild. Like, I literally watch, I'm like the biggest Pat McAfee fan. So during the pandemic, that's all I watched, literally all I watched. So fast forward to Montreal. I didn't know if he was going to be there or not. And then find out what I'm doing. Pretty sweet. So then we go do my medicals. And then all of a sudden, I just see the jean jacket, like the Canadian tuxedo, you know what I mean? Like, walked in, and then I just looked over and I was just like, hey man. And then he just looks over at me and he kind of does one of these, just like, Ben. And I'm like,
Pat McAfee knows my name. That's awesome.
And he's just like, dude, you look fucking great since the last time I seen you. You fucking look good. And I was just like, what? And he just kept walking, and I was just like, that's the coolest thing anybody's ever said to me. Like, the fact that that dude remembered me and remembered that what I looked like, for crying out loud, in my suit, and then clearly and saw the hard work that I put. What a fucking tip of the cap. I'm sorry I keep swearing, but
no, that's fine.
Man, that was so cool. And
we'll let the bosses figure out the swearing. Fuck it.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
But then we would kind of met up throughout the course of the day, and then he's just like, are you doing anything? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting armbarred by Ronda Rousey. And he's just like, whoa, really? And I'm like, yeah, dude. And then the funny thing is Green Phantom was right there, and then Drew Gulak introduced Pat McAfee to Green Phantom. He's just like, hey, this is Green Phantom, blah, 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 blah. So that's why when you hear him, Pat McAfee, on commentary that night say something about a phantom knee punch, he just pulled that out of it. That's how good that dude is. And then it dawned on me. I even said to him, I was like, man, this is gonna be like so cool for me. I'm like, I'm gonna get armbarred by Ronda Rousey, and you're doing commentary for it. That's wild. So that's why I think he jokingly was just like, oh look, another bald guy begging.
That is amazing. I remember sitting at home watching that and seeing you take that armbar, and I was just like, oh shit, it's Big Ben. That's amazing. That's such a surreal moment, man. That's so cool.
It all happened so fast because like it originally wasn't supposed to be me in that spot. So like when things kind of got changed last minute, it was just like a whirlwind of like
maybe Patty Mac knows from it. Get my guy in there. Get my guy in there.
Yeah, well, it was cool, man. Like it was just a really overwhelming experience, and it was the easiest drive home from Montreal I ever had, just because like I was just literally driving on cloud, and I don't even remember the drive home. I just somehow like left Montreal and just ended up in my bed, and I was just like, yeah, nice. Like,
hell yeah, that's so cool. That is an amazing story. It delivered. We got a few more minutes. I got a few more questions. You take these how you will. I was told to ask one.
I swear to God, if this is a Mildred Burke question, I'm going to throw my water bottle.
Okay. It's not. I told Zach to leave those at home. Leave those Quizplex questions over at Quizplex.
See, this is why my name is Big Venus Loves Hago.
Yeah, we don't need those. We don't need those Quizplex questions, Ark. You can keep those. I was asked to why is Ontario better than, or why is it better than Canada? The best in Canada. Why is Ontario the best in Canada?
Who says it is?
I was just that somebody told me to ask you your thoughts on that. Just these are just questions from the team. They wanted me to make sure. Listen, like I can give you my sources off air if you'd like.
No, it's all good. Tell your sources that I don't necessarily agree with their statement.
And then the follow-up to that from another source was, what did Montreal ever do to Big Ben?
No, the real question is like, what did I ever do to Montreal?
Okay.
Like, I don't even know. All I know is that I show up and I work really hard. I wrestle my ass off. I let their favorite wrestler kick the absolute piss out of me. I won matches. What do you want me to do? Just keep showing up and get my ass? Like, no. Like, I need to win matches. That's the point of wrestling. That's literally the point. So, like, I'm very good at wrestling too. So, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. They just didn't like me. The only thing that I did wrong to Montreal was not be from there, which is why they don't like me. That's the only reason that I can think of. It's the only thing that makes sense because they sure like to yell anti-Ontario things to me a lot, which blew my mind, by the way, because my gear this past Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to segue to that.
Very thought out for a long time about this return.
Very Toronto-y, very Blue Jays-esque.
There's a lot. If you were to look at there's a lot of Easter eggs going on in there. If you would actually look at the gear,
I'm afraid to make this statement on air because of where I work, but I have a feeling the Montreal fan base is just upset that the Expos are no longer there.
So here's the thing: they liked it. That backfired so hard, dude. Like I can't even explain.
They were happy to see you for once. It was fun.
But like, I think that they were just like, oh yeah, you know what? We're Jays fans too because we don't have a baseball team anymore. So like, go Jays! And I'm like, fuck.
So are you saying it was the gear that got you over on Saturday, or you, or both? Good combination of the two. That question was brought to you by Zark, by the way. That was Zach who asked about.
I would like to think a combination because the gear was pretty dope.
It was.
And I would like to think that I have worked my ass off for that audience and that hopefully they at least maybe just respect me by now. But you know what? I'm not going to rest on my laurels. And if last Saturday was a one-time thing and I go out next time while I'm there and all I see are middle fingers, then guess what, baby boy? I will flip them off right back. But the reality is that I think that Montreal and I have this really platonic relationship where I think that we actually love one another, but have to hate one another in order to make this work.
A little toxic, but it's beautiful, you know. So that's funny. That was all Zach. That was all Zach. I'll throw him on the bus right now. That was all Zach. He wanted me to get you fired up. He wanted me to get you fired up for this thing.
Well, Zach knows how to do that, you know. Pero and I like to just continuously talk shit about Zach constantly. So
before I get you out of here, I do like to believe every time I see Pero slamming a guy down on the mat in GCW or wherever he's wrestling, I think, you know, back of his mind in a small brain, it's like Quizplex.
I don't blame him because I'm pretty sure that when I hit Sway with that Liger bomb, I was just like, "Where are you, Zach? Where are you?"
That's right. That's why, I mean, he's never had me on the show.
My ass.
On that note, Ben, you are the absolute man, whether you're producing, whether you're acting, whether you're wrestling, whether you are just sitting there painting. I don't care what you're doing. I am a fan, brother. You are one of my favorite people on this planet. It was an honor to get to talk to you today and get into the mind of everything that's been going on over the past year with you. So why don't you plug your stuff, let everyone know where they can find you, and I will get you out of here because I know you're a busy, busy man.
Well, first of all, I want you to know how much I love and appreciate you, just because, again, we were a part of that pandemic, you know, friendship club. And, you know, the reality is like I've been getting to like meet a lot of people that I've become friends with through the pandemic, through stuff like this. And it's been really cool. Like even just meeting Effie this past weekend was just like man, like it's nice to finally like just be face to face, just because like we've chatted so many times and stuff. And you know, so like I was telling you off air, I've had a lot of people ask me to do different podcasts, but I just feel comfortable being around people that I love right now. And it's no disrespect to anybody else, but I got a lot of love for you. So if I'm going to plug anybody first, I'm going to plug Hago and all of the things that he does. Beards. I'll go watch them all. But second of all, please go give me a follow. Big Ben is Angry. It's just right there. If you are new and you have not seen any of my stuff before and you just so happen to be meeting me through this interview, one thing that I can tell you and one thing I can promise you is I'm just a hardworking guy. Everything that I do, I put my heart into. I would like to think that I'm a good guy and that I try hard and that I help. I want to try to help as many people as I possibly can. And, you know, the ultimate goal for me is just to do the absolute best that I can and get the absolute furthest that I could possibly go until the wheels fall off. So if you want to enjoy a pretty fun ride, usually a bumpy one, because, you know, as a person who has a wrestling show, people are going to hate me. So it's always a little fun and bumpy on that regards. But if you're interested in coming along on the journey, please follow me, man, because it means a lot. And literally all those numbers help, you know. So and if you have seen my stuff, just help get the word out about me. You know, that's usually the best way to help is, you know, they say that, you know, buying t-shirts is all that stuff that helps support wrestlers, which is true. But at the same time too, just, you know, word of mouth is literally like the freest and most helpful way to support a pro wrestler, especially on my level right now. So if you can, just spread the good word. That's all I can ask.
And that's what I'm going to do.
And go watch Uproar. The season finale is this. When's this airing?
Sometime this week. I don't know, boss. We'll figure it out. But At the time of this recording,
will have aired Wednesday of this week.
There we go.
And if this airs any later than Saturday, then just go back and watch it because it'll be aired on Saturday, July the 22nd. I think is what the day is.
Boom.
But anyways, that's the season finale show is our last premium event. It's one of the proudest shows that I've ever put on. It has one of my favorite matches that I've probably ever had in a long time. With one of my students. So go out of your way to watch that as well. It's all worth it, man. We've got the best commentary team in the world. Veda Scott, Speedball Mike Bailey. We have one of the best up and coming wrestling teams rather, that you could possibly have in this country. And they're literally getting better every single week. You can see their progress. There's guys like Mikey Jenkins and Brother Earth and Crystal Moon and Rajan Husher, and guys like Mark Shaw, girls like Laurel Cassidy, Nilo Reyes, Robbie. There's so many people that are on these shows that are just on the upswing. Like the Dynasty kids, you name them. Grizzly Mac, Travis Moore, Tyler. We have guys like Tyler Thomas, who, in my opinion, I think is probably one of the most gifted pro wrestlers that this country has. You just don't know about him because he got hurt and he's only been doing things to kind of, stay busy. So then that way he doesn't get hurt even more. But literally the dude can get off the couch and have the best match that you could possibly have on any card anywhere. It's phenomenal. We have an incredible team. We have people like Gabriel Fuerza and Alexia Nicole who come by and do the shows with us from time to time. We've had the crew from Quebec come down. We usually have a crew from Buffalo coming down, like Myung Jae Lee, Isaiah Prince, and we're going to have more Buffalo kids that are coming down the next season. This is a thing, man. You've got a hungry crew, and I guarantee you it's worth watching.
And I agree. I do. I watch it. A lot of the team here at Love Wrestling watches it. We all love it. We all love you. We're running short on time. My guy, Big Ben, like I said, 1,000 times, thank you for doing this. You already know who I am. I'm Pluggo. You find me at Pluggo_. Stay tuned to Love Wrestling CA on all the social medias to see what we're doing. We're doing big things over here. But Big Ben, my guy, you massive hog-carrying gentleman, you. I love you. Thank you so much, my friend. All right, until next time, guys. We're out. Peace.